All right, what's good, Mark Cordone, creative? Welcome to the Joy Revolution podcast. I am super, super stoked about this one. Now, if you haven't been introduced to me, I use joy and creativity to create social change, right? And so if you're a type of person who's all into like evolving the human consciousness, this is what the Joy Revolution is all about. I've got a person who's been evolving human consciousness in the ways of her being an entrepreneur, the COO of Define Media, and you can go to DEAFINE media.com to see that. She's soon to be a coach, and a couple weeks ago I got to break bread with her as she was giving her TEDx talk in TEDx Ocala. Her name is Jasmine Marie. Jasmine, what are you doing here? What are you doing on my show?
Hello to a friend.
Right? Yes, exactly. There's no easy way around this. You've had quite the ride when it comes to your life and getting to talk on a TEDx stage, getting to create this media business, right? So let's just go there. You know, your childhood, it wasn't, I think, the most normal of childhoods out there. At the same time, you talk about your childhood shaping so much of who you are today. So when I'm asking you about your childhood, what is like this defining moment during those early years that has influenced your understanding of things like resilience?
I think in my early childhood, the thing about resilience, I didn't quite get it. I was just in a huge cycle, just a downward spiral. And yeah, it took a long time, I think, until adulthood, for me to get out of that cycle and find resilience. It just took a very big defining moment in my life where it was in the hospital bed and them giving me that 3 month time frame of where I had left. That was the time where I think I found resilience, because I think I did in technically my childhood without recognizing it. I kept overcoming a lot of obstacles, but
Completely.
I just kept going in a big cycle.
Got it. I want to talk about that hospital moment in a second. I don't want to turn this into a whole like crazy story, but you had a whole bunch of traumas that were going on. And I know you talked about them on the TEDx Ocala stage. Do you mind sharing it here as well with those traumas that you were experiencing?
Yeah, from the age of 2 to 14, I did have experienced sexual abuse from my father, and that was something that basically made me, that was my identity for my entire life, is that trauma was abuse going through him, the trauma of not being believed in court when he was found not guilty, and then just the ongoing experiences that were very toxic for a child, of becoming an alcoholic at 14, extreme alcoholic. I was drinking a lot every day.
Okay. Yeah,
And yeah, just that continuous toxic environment, partying and
completely.
alcohol and all that stuff. That's all
No,
true.
when it comes to trauma and experiencing trauma, there's a whole bunch of trauma reactions that people have of it, right? Some people don't even remember like
Mm-hmm.
some of those things. Some people develop a different personality or like their identity schisms, right? And so like there is a different type of Jasmine that showed up, or maybe it's a different name, even like Yvette, and then you being the real Jasmine. And when something traumatizing happens, it's to Yvette. Like the whole time, did you know? God, that's over a decade. Did you know these things were fucking happening to you? Or was it like later looking back on things after getting sober that you realized just how bad it was?
I didn't, I think that when I was sober, I realized a lot of things, but during that time, I knew that I was affected and these things were happening to me and I was behaving in a very bad way, but it was kind of just like ignore and keep going just to dilute and just hide away from it.
Got it, got it. When you hit that bottle, what was that like? Like was this the beginning of escape? The beginning of
Yeah.
I can get drunk and it takes me away from the bull crap.
Exactly. It was literally my first drink when I was 14 years old. It gave me that feeling like it was just, I wasn't me anymore. And it was just like I drank my first time drinking at 14 years old, I blacked out. So I was just
Uh,
gone. And then I
yeah.
woke up. And that was like, I can escape a whole day by drinking this and not being myself, getting away from all of my troubles. And that's what I continuously did every day.
So you just went from like not drinking to like full on like I get to do this day by day by day by day. Um,
Hmm.
were any of like in terms of the people around you, were they worried about your alcoholism?
My family, when they did find out, they were, but the people that I hung out with were more encouraging to it. They thought it was fun or funny. It was just that I found an environment that encouraged me to drink.
Got
It
it.
was a toxic environment of people who wanted to party, drink, do drugs, and just encourage the worst in people.
I'm sure. But when you're having a like it makes sense, right? Because if you're having a worse experience, and I mean, I don't mean to be comparing one to the other, but like if I have an experience that is so bad that I need to black out from it, it would make sense that why not drink? Why not shut this up? Why not like turn the demons off? Why not step away from the experience and like not worry? I'm 14. Maybe it will take care of itself when I get older, but I just don't want to be a part of it right now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was, yeah, that's exactly how it felt because when I was at 14 years old, having telling and opening up about something so big and so to me it felt embarrassing at a young age to talk about what my father did to me like it was my fault. And so to get away from knowing that now it's out in the open and nobody believed me, I'm not getting help or anything like that, I just wanted to shut everything off.
And by nobody, that includes your own family?
Well, in my head, they weren't helping. And that's what you tell yourself when you get a door closed, then you just start creating things. And I know my family, they are there. They're here right now being very supportive of me. It's just what I tell myself to kind of keep going and doing what I wanted to do.
Got it. Got it. So it justifies being able to like do what you wanted to do. That makes total sense. You did say that you testified in court about this and not even
Yeah.
the believed.
Yeah. Because going back to what you said, when kids they can cut out trauma experiences. And at that time, I was 14. I did forget certain things. My memory gaps were there.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't able to give as much information and details that they wanted in court. And then my father being there is very scary because he was right across from me. And then having his lawyer question me like I was a bad person for talking about this. It was just a very traumatic experience, and it just messes up every explanation that you want to give and all the facts that you want to tell. It just goes out the window.
Sure, sure. And I've definitely heard of cases that where it's very clear that the person had something going on, but the type of questions that they were asked would like get them to think twice. The details aren't there, like all those sorts
Yeah.
of things. What is it like to not have anyone believe that this stuff went down with you?
Oh, it's like a just a deep hit in the chest. Like it's like you give your all, you open everything up, your vulnerability, your embarrassment, your just everything. And to get that door shut on your face is just like feels the world just shut you out.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I also like when you were on the TEDx Ocala stage, and a big part of your message is that not only you have trauma, but like many of us carry these like hidden traumas, right? And essentially, what was the first realization that what, like the first realization of what you were going through as a child was a big time trauma? When was it?
Thanks to rehabilitation, when I did
Alcohol
go to
rehab?
rehab,
Mhm.
yes,
Okay,
when I went to rehab, it was it's called Bridge House. I love that place. That place changed me completely.
got it.
And it was because they gave me there was classes in there that was educating you on psychology. So they were telling us about behaviors. We talked about abuse and even sexual abuse, and we did talk about accountability and all this stuff. So I really took in what they were telling me. And everybody there has the same opportunity as me, but it's if you take it seriously or not. And unfortunately, a lot of addicts, they don't. But I was soaking in as much as I could. And that's when I started to analyze myself and think about the behaviors that I have and how they could be linked to my traumas from my past.
Mhm. Mhm. That makes so much sense. I'm thinking of, and again, I'm projecting my own stories in here as well, but I could see you being there, right? In the rehab house that you love, in the system that you love, finally being able to be seen and heard and felt, where people are like, yo, we get it. And I'm thinking about sort of my own trauma that I've gone through in my own life, and like being able to come to a group, right? And have the group not question it. They just be like, yeah, that's what you went through. You're with us now, your family, all those types of things. Did you feel like when you got into that rehab system that it was something along the lines of, okay, they get me. They get me. I don't have to put up with this bull crap. Or maybe they did not get you, you know?
Now, when I first started, I was terrified because it was just a whole new environment and a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts and I'm a very small person and I'm usually very scared of everything. I have horrible anxiety. So when I went in there, I was completely terrified. I was like, oh God, what did I put myself into? But once I started, like people started to come to me because I was isolating myself. I was drawing in my book or writing and listening to music and they started to come to me and started to talk to me and connect with me. And I was like, we have more than I thought in common. And even the counselors, just there was a counselor that was like, I'm not gonna, take your bull crap or take accountability. And she was a very serious tone, and that was one of the most influential counselors for me. And then there was one that actually leveled with me and had conversations with me and understood me and compared me to him. And seeing someone that was in my shoes previously that is now super successful gave me hope in myself. So it was just a beautiful experience all around.
Oh, dude, that's like total shadow work too. For someone
Hmm.
to turn the mirror on you and be like, "Hey, this might be something that you perpetuate, not what your dad did to you, but maybe some of the qualities that your dad had." That is insanely cool. I also wonder if, you're talking about folks who this counselor who gave you tough love, or someone who turned the mirror on you. In retrospect, did you feel like any of these folks had some sort of like parental vibe to them? It's I find it hard. This is just me observing. I find it hard for someone to see what your dad was doing to you and not and say, "Well, that's not a true parent." Because in my mind right now I'm like, that dude ain't a true parent. But then I'm hearing you talk about these people in this rehab program, kind of being firm with you like a parent. Is that at all something that you've seen in terms of like you being like, yeah, that was a parenting that I'm glad that I received from those people.
Yeah, I do. I do believe that they definitely have parental vibes.
They did.
There were like different levels. Every counselor was so different. There was the stern one. She was definitely like the angry grandma, and I loved her for it. I loved it.
I love
And
it.
she really like, but she gave me that sense of responsibility and making myself hold myself accountable was so good because it's like, yeah, my father did this to me and he is a horrible human being for that. But every action that I took after that was on me. I took the drink. I continued to drink alcohol. So they definitely had a lot of parental vibes. There was a lot of different types of support. So it was just like a wide range of just amazing people in there.
So good, so good. And I know that you've talked about your alcoholism and that experience being, choosing rehabilitation or just giving up completely. And I know that you said it on TEDx Ocala stages. What is one of the most surprising things that you learned about yourself in rehab?
One of the most surprising things I learned in rehab, I think one thing I learned is I did not like the music that I liked when I was drinking. That was
Okay,
definitely something. Yeah.
what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I was like heavy into like rock music, heavy metal, and that just went out the window. I was like, what am I listening to?
No,
And my style completely changed. I liked Korean music. I don't know what
you're a
that was.
K-pop fan
I am.
still
Yes.
to this day.
Yes, I am.
So what are we?
Religiously,
So are we
but just
talking about like
also,
pre BTS? Like when BTS
oh,
blew up, were you
BTS
like,
is my everything. I love BTS. But other than that, like just learning how I can be a leader, they did give me that responsibility because there's like little jobs inside rehabilitation, and then the more responsible you are and the more they believe in you, they'll give you a higher title.
Nice.
Yeah, so I became basically the head of everything in the facility. So I was in charge and I was giving the rules, laying down the law of who's going to be cleaning what. And just like they called me, what's the, he's a tyrant.
You're the
They call, yeah, the Cuban tyrant dude. What's his
I
name?
We'll put it in post. We'll go and edit
Yes,
that in
but
post.
yeah, they called me basically a tyrant because I was this little thing walking around just like, you do this, you do that, and it was
Oh my
just
god.
amazing. But
Oh
yes,
my
I
god. And
did so.
I bet you took no shit from anybody too.
No, I didn't. And they were just like, she's scary. She's a scary little thing.
I absolutely love a scary little thing who also has BTS playing.
Yes,
Loves their BTS. There's a whole bunch of new ones. There's a girl group I want to talk to you about as well. That one was they were pretty cool as well. I actually got
Blackpink,
huh?
Blackpink.
Blackpink. Is that your jam too?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go and completely. I'm gonna go and deviate from our script for a second here, because I need to ask you this. I heard that a lot of people in K-pop are like totally stressed out and don't get any sleep, and like they'll pass out on stage because they're exhausted. Is that true or false?
What the fans?
No, not even the fans. Like
Oh,
the
the
like
the
BTS and like Blackpink, like they are just so exhausted because all they do, they're like a machine.
They are machines. They work. That's one thing that I can say that I really love about Korean pop music and pop stars. They are so dedicated and they work so hard. They have to dance, sing, and then they're always traveling. They're just nonstop. They never stop.
Got it. I love how you lightened up right when we talked about K-pop. Okay, before we go back in, number one K-pop song of all time and why you love it and why it describes who you are.
I would have to say for BTS solo, Taeyoung, he's my favorite. And Blue. Blue is a beautiful, beautiful song. He has a whole different sound than you would ever expect any K-pop fan to go on. He has a jazz kind of feel to it, and it's just beautiful, romantic sound, and it's just, you should check it out, Blue.
Wait, the song is Blue or this is the dude?
Yeah, that's Blue.
Okay, there we have it. I'm gonna put that in the show notes, right?
Mhm.
So let's. Oh, by the way, you're gonna call me a poser. BTS Butter. I cannot get enough of it. It's just so good.
No, that's not being a poser. That song is so enlightening. Like that gives me so much energy. It's insane. I get happy whenever I hear that song.
Jasmine, we're gonna start a podcast together about K-pop. I see it
Yes,
now. I just see it right now. We just deconstruct one K-pop song every single episode.
let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Reclamation Principle. Recognize, rewire, reclaim. Why is this framework so powerful for you and anybody who engages in it?
It was just, it's literally what I've done in just a small frame of ideology, giving it to everyone. But in my long time of these past 5 years, that's what I've been working on. And I just had to think of like, how can I share that, my experience of the step by step of what I've been doing
Mm.
in just a smaller frame so that they can understand how to do it and recognize is kind of just like being aware of what you've been through and where you are and what you've done and being accountable for the actions and understanding what happened to you, literally educating yourself on it. And
Hmm.
that was the first step for me was when I started learning about these behavioral psychology issues and just my trauma and the abuse and understanding even where that the abuser,
Yeah.
his story and what caused him to be that way and not a way of feeling bad for them, but understanding and in a scientific way of why this happened. And so when you get that full understanding and you're starting to analyze yourself
Okay.
You just learn educationally like what's going on with you inside your body, inside your mind, and that is as recognized. And
Hmm.
rewire is literally it's it's like neurology. You have to literally choose different behaviors from with the way you react. So things that trigger you and cause you to react in a way that's like fight or flight, or just kind of drawing back, or anything that's triggered from your trauma, you have to literally choose a different behavior. You have to make an action.
Yep.
That's
Completely.
even if it's, and you start from small things too. So that can lead you to literally changing who you are into a stronger person. And
Completely.
then reclaim is just about those pieces that it took away from you. When I was going through my trauma, it took away my trust in people.
Yeah.
It took away my confidence. And I became a wallflower where I would get extreme anxiety just going to the corner store.
I could
So
see
I
that.
had to take those things back. And by doing those first two steps, I was slowly gaining my confidence and pushing myself beyond what I thought I was capable of, was bringing all of those capabilities that was out the window from my trauma back to me and becoming who I was meant to be, or even better.
I love it. Now, this reclamation principle, it doesn't seem like it's over when you get to reclaim. It feels like you're always going through recognizing new things, rewiring new things, reclaiming new things, then starting again, recognize again, rewire, reclaim. Um, what you did a great job in terms of talking about like how that was helping you get through some really dire traumatic times where you were in recovery and all that stuff. What are you currently like recognizing, rewiring, or reclaiming right now?
Well, right now, I think my anxiety is something that is very, very triggered. And I still have like behind the stage, what before going up on TEDx stage, I was fine until like the last 30 minutes. I got into my own head, and I was psyching myself out. I was hyperventilating. I was jumping up and down. I was like,
But you
how
were?
Yep, I was nerve wracked. I was scared because I have a fear of speaking in front of people. And so that's why I've been working on it, and I'm still working on it. And it's going to be an ongoing journey for me to continue because I want to share my story and help other people. And so like right now I started 2 years ago speaking in front of like a small group of people at Toastmasters. It's an international club, and I'm part of that to help me. And then like a year later I saw TEDx, and I was like, I'm gonna do that, and then I did it. So
I'm gonna do scary shit. Right?
yeah, I gotta keep pushing myself because that anxiety is one of my biggest triggers, and it's something that I continuously work on to become stronger, to kick it, just basically kick its butt and take it away completely.
That's super cool because maybe it was your anxiety, but I thought that you hated my guts when we first met. Like, this dude is over the top. I need to get away from him.
Oh
Um,
no, no,
that's my anxiety too, that everybody hates me. I'm gonna
yeah.
and
Oh
then
no, that wasn't the case. It's just also I'm a very shy person, so it's just something that like those are things that like even though I've accomplished a lot from where I was to where I am now, it's an ongoing journey. Like you said, it is a loop. It never
it is
ends. It's continuously learning about yourself and growing and teaching yourself ways to defeat those little barriers that you only create. Because it's only we create those barriers. The fear is all in our head.
completely. There's stories that are happening, and we think that it's real, right?
Mhm.
I did want to tell you something, and that's I was walking behind, like I was walking around. It wasn't really backstage, but like I was walking around that area in where TEDx Ocala was being held, like one of those auditorium hallways. And I saw you like by yourself, and I saw you rehearsing the whole thing. And I was like, I wanted to come up to you and be like, yo, that was me too. Like, I just need, like, I don't know about you, but that dinner before our TEDx, I could not concentrate that dinner. I wanted to go home and I wanted to rehearse, you know what I mean? And so like I wanted to come up to you and give you a big hug and tell you like, thanks for fighting the good fight, because there's a lot of people here who they're ready to go and stuff like that, but I was the type of person in my own anxiety, I needed to practice every waking moment coming up to the talk, you know what I mean? And so a way to like recognize, rewire, and reclaim. So I've got this course called the Joy Revolution, and it is very similar to this principle. Is this your principle, reclamation principle?
Mhm.
Okay, well, hurry up and get the trademark on that, right?
I will.
But so in the Joy Revolution, it's very similar. It's awareness. If you've been in Landmark, it's called getting what so. It's like, what are the facts? Let's take away the emotion from it, and let's get down to brass tacks. And then when it comes to rewire, my piece was taking is about taking inspired action. Inspired action is not easy, but once you go to get what's so, you can go then and you can then go and take inspired action. And then the third step in that is finding what is it finding the lesson in it. Now that you've recognized things, or now that you've gotten what's so, now that you have taken inspired action, now you can go and ask yourself what the meaning is in this. And what was really cool about it is that it continues to work in a circle as long as you're applying to this. Now, I know for the most part of today, we've been talking about things like survivalist mentality, right? There's trauma, getting through it, going through rehab, all these sorts of things where you are in the survival mode. But I think a lot of people forget, Jasmine, that just because you don't have the trauma anymore, just because you've gotten yourself back to this point of neutral, it doesn't mean that you're naturally growing or flourishing and all that kind of stuff. Talk to me about this moving from survival to neutral, and then moving from neutral to growth, and what that looked like for you.
Um, I think, because I actually, I tell this to some people that I don't like the term survivor. I don't. And it's because that you stick to that identity and you become a survivor, and that's your identity. That I survived this. I'm a survivor, and you're stuck there. You don't grow. Like you're just instantly just focused
Mm,
on yourself being a survivor. And one of the things I think I was in survival mode in rehabilitation, and I remember one of the counselors. It was a young counselor that he was becoming a pastor, and he had came into my room, and he had told me, I just wanted to let you know that you're not a victim anymore. You're a survivor, and that meant a lot to me. And then when I got
mm.
out of rehab, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, okay, what do I do now? I was a little scared, but
Of course, yeah.
yeah, and I had because I didn't I knew how to function there. I didn't know how to function up here. So instead of just being a survivor and focusing on who I was as a survivor, I had to find out who I was entirely myself. Because
Mm.
that's the whole point, is going from victim to survivor, and then you as a person is the next chapter, not that title. So you have to find new things and find interest and goals, and push yourself to grow as a person, because Jasmine is who I am. I'm not survivor.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that, Jasmine. And also, like, I'm hearing you go from a place of survival to being curious with certain things, being curious about trying this out, trying that out. What were some of the early things that you engaged in, even that you questioned, when you started taking those new steps towards growth?
I think mostly was actually when I first was looking for a job, because I was doing like these small little the 9 to 5 jobs, working in Walgreens, and all those like little tiny things, which is great for people when they do work there. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted something more, but I didn't believe in myself. And I
Oh,
actually, yeah, so I didn't know what to do. So I just did what I knew and thought I was capable of, until my mom actually showed me this job they were looking for events coordinator. And so she was like, you do great at it, because I do murder mystery. I create little scripts for my family, and we have games and stuff like that. And I create little events for them. So I was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it, because she talked me into it really well. She was like, you got this. So I was like, okay, I think I could do it. No experience whatsoever, but I shot my shot, and I was actually honest about where I was and what happened to me and what I wanted to achieve. And they gave me the job. And from there, I started learning about marketing and social media and stuff, going on their platforms, and just getting really interested in editing videos, editing graphics and stuff like that. And that just shot me into marketing. I had no schooling or whatever. I just started teaching myself from from scratch. I started learning, like, I love this stuff and I'm really good at it. So it's now I'm a co-owner of a media company.
I know, Define Media. How incredible is that, you know? And I can't, do you consider yourself a spiritual person?
Yeah, I do. It's weird because I believe in a lot of spirituality. I believe in that there's a higher power, and that was something that was really important to find your higher power in rehabilitation, whether it's religion or something else. And I think I am very open spiritually. I just have a vast idea of it, so I don't like to identify it as a title, give it a title. I just like believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Because there's a lot of programs that are just like, it doesn't matter what it is, it's just bigger than yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, talk about like going from where you were to following sort of what lights your heart up. Now, like I could see Define Media being like your calling, right?
Hmm.
I'm guessing like you get to wake up every single day, and while it's not, you know, as a business owner myself, it's some days are better than others, right? But at the end of the day, when my head hits the pillow, I'm like, my God, I got to do the coolest shit today. I got to get to know Jasmine, who doesn't hate me as much as I thought she did, right? And I get to do this. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
oftentimes, like that gratitude is something that it's something that I didn't have when I was in the throes of some really bad times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to go. I want to do this. I want to. Can we go and like let's deviate from the script again here? Do you mind rolling up your sleeves for a second?
Oh yeah, sure.
Tell us like tell me some of the meaning behind some of the things that you have there. Hey, are you picking up what I'm throwing down here? Are you digging the Joy Revolution podcast? If so, I invite you to subscribe on this platform. Now, if you want more, I have an online community called The Underground. It's free to sign up. In there, you'll find mini courses inspired by podcasts like this one. You get to connect with other community members. I'm in there. The link's in the description. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. So it was a lot of cover-ups from my old tattoos. I
Rock
started
and
getting
roll day.
tattoos. Yeah. I was hanging out with everyone with tattoos all the way up to here, so I was like, I want some too. But but this one I love. It was, I don't think you can see it, but it's like a mountain and
Yep, I see it.
trees, a silhouette and stuff. And that just it just brings me peace. I love nature, and when I look at it, it kind of gives me a calming,
Yeah.
you know. And I love the quietness of nature, and that's why I wanted it there. And right here, these are flowers here because I just love flowers. That's it. But
Got it.
but
Got
this
it.
one
What's
is
that cat? There's that
actually
cat?
yeah, this was my first kitten. He passed away, and I only had him for 5 weeks, like because he was so sick. But that little baby put me into debt because I was trying to save him.
Tell
But
me the other side.
huh?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, he still holds a very big part of my heart, and it's still only 5 weeks of having him, and he's so precious to me. And so I wanted him to be there because it just meant a lot. And then this is just because uh, I love the way this looks.
Aesthetically, it's good.
Yeah, and then this one is anime, Dragon Ball Z. That's my childhood right there. So those are my two favorite characters. One loves eating,
Right
Beerus,
on.
and I love eating, so he's my favorite. And then this one finally is, as you can see, it's a Japanese building
Oh
structure.
my gosh.
And I love Japan. I love Korea. I love Asian culture. It's just amazing to me.
Right
So
on. Right on. Well, the next one is going to be Filipino. Philippines. We're going
yeah.
to find something for you. I know you're in Gainesville, I think, right?
No, I'm in Ocala.
Oh, you're in
I was
Ocala.
right
Okay.
here. Yep.
Amazing. Okay. Then we'll go and find an artist in Ocala. I'll get something
Yep.
K-pop. You get something Filipino. We'll mix it all together.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like. I know that this is some of this is random, but I'm just kind of I want to get to know you even deeper here. Was your like has your mom always supported you
Yeah. It was,
even during those times where no one believed you?
oh yeah. Yeah. Once I told her, she called the cops real quick. She was not playing games. And
Did she
she
not
was,
suspect it at all?
No, and the sad thing is that I know when I share my story, like a lot of people do ask, like, where was your mom at? But with someone that is so experienced in being a chameleon and pretending to be, he was so confusing to me myself that I didn't understand that he was my dad during the day and he was like this monster at night. So he was really good at being that
Sure.
chameleon.
Sure.
So, and they were separated most of the time. So
Got it.
it was when I was at his house. So she didn't really know until I said it, but she took action real quick as a mother,
Right.
to do
Right.
that. And she was supportive, but again, as a parent dealing with this, she didn't know. She tried to put me in therapy, but I didn't want to be in therapy because I didn't trust the system. And so I became a runaway. So it was hard for her to give me support and to kind of like reel me back because I always, when I was in my drinking days, I always hid myself from my family because I didn't want them to see that.
Got it. Do you forgive your dad?
I forgive him as a human, but it's very hard because I know that he knows what he did is wrong, and then he continued to do it to other young girls. At first, I did forgive him. I thought that's what I needed to do to heal, and all that did was put me in a deeper confusion, a spiral for myself. And there was a time that I did contact him in jail, and he turned out to be the same human being that he was before and gave me big triggers. And so then I decided to not contact him ever again. Just if it was just me, I think I would have been able to forgive.
Got it.
But the fact that he continued, I can't forgive him because he knows what he's
Got
doing
it.
is wrong to those girls.
Got it. Is this something that if you had to relive all of this that you wouldn't do, or that you would say, no, I wouldn't go back and do that. Even if I was a different person, I wouldn't go back and put myself through that trauma.
I don't think that I would change what happened to me because
Oh,
no, because I am who I am. I don't know who I would be with if I didn't. And I wouldn't be trying to help girls and being on this path of wanting to. I do have a nonprofit that I'm trying to build.
yeah.
And that's to help other girls. And by me sharing my story, every time that I share my story, I've come into contact with someone who has been going through that and is too scared to talk about it and does not want to talk about it. But me sharing my story has given them strength or belief in themselves to grow and be something bigger than what they think
Yeah.
that they're capable of. So
Completely.
I
Yeah.
I could see myself as a sacrifice for what I went through. I would do it again.
Yo, that's huge. It also makes sense because you're about to become certified as a life coach, that would be something that you're able to integrate into your work, right? You've seen the darkest of times and the darkest of people, and to have someone to come in as your coaching client, I could see how powerful it would be to let your client know, I see you, I hear you, and I feel you, right? And I can't help but think that's part of the reason why you want to get into coaching, or, finish
Yeah,
this
that
coaching
is
degree off.
that is the reason.
Okay.
Because the one person that really made me believe in myself from rehab was the counselor that he asked a very important question that hit me and changed my mindset completely from being a victim and into going into the survivor.
What
Was
is it?
he said, I always ask myself why me, because he too did go through some sexual abuse, and so that's why I felt a connection. I understood him. And he said he always asked himself, why me? But there came to a point that he asked himself, why not me? Because he went through what he went through to be sitting there today, to be helping us and to be connecting with us on a deeper level of understanding and making us feel that we're not alone. So why not me? So that's when I was like, first I was like, what do you mean? Why not me? I didn't want to go through that, but then it really sunk in after he explained it. And I was like, wow, that's powerful. And
It
I
it
want to think like that.
it makes so much sense, and I feel like, I'm just going through my own life and how much I'd cry victim in so many ways. I'm a victim here. This happened to me. This, but like when you go and flip that, you get to say, this happened for me and I could be resilient and gritty and create joy in areas where there is no joy and to light other people up and to get on a TEDx stage, like what
Mm-hmm.
my two TEDx's were about my blunders and trauma and floundering, you know what I mean? And like I can totally see you saying, why not me? I'm anxious, but I'm going to get on a motherfucking TEDx stage and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
drop it. And then I'm going to
Yeah.
leave and I'm going to coach people. And then I'm going to hang out with my mom. I'm going to hang out with your partner and all that good stuff. And you're going to do everything that you need to do on on Define Media. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that when you go through certain traumas and you go through really, really big struggles in your life and you overcome them, you become such a stronger person than a normal person. And
Completely.
you see that you have this fire inside you and that you're capable of overcoming these huge obstacles. And so that you have this high belief system. Once you surpass that, you are going to skyrocket into the greatest person that you can be. And not a lot of people get that because unfortunately trauma does that to people that
Completely.
yeah.
Completely. Do you feel like people only can grow by going through trauma? And it doesn't have
No,
to be trauma, but stress too. Like, is the only way to expand who we are is through some sort of stress or trauma?
I think just to expand who you are is I don't think you need to go through trauma. I think that you would need to overcome fears,
Ah,
big
nice.
or small. I think that, like, I think our only barriers are ourselves. That is, it's all in our head. We are the only people that put that door in front of us and close it shut or open it. We just have to, if you're nervous or you're shy and you overcome that fear, you're growing as a person. If you
Sure.
overstep that and you don't like talking in front, for example, I hate talking in front of meetings. And when I started working at an animal hospital, it was my first time in marketing that became a leader and I had to step in front of the entire staff and present my department and talk statistics, results, and everything. I was a hot mess. I was sweating, red face. And so one of my managers, she was like, "Oh, so cute." And then I did this weird like snort chuckle. I was like, it was terrible. But
Snort knuckle.
yeah, it was bad. But that was me doing something that I was terrified of. And then after that, it started getting easier and easier and easier. And then I became a stronger leader while I was there. So it's all about just overcoming your fears. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be trauma, just something that you're scared to do, just do it.
What I like about that is that it totally talks about doing the work and like this work is being a part of rewiring. When you're rewiring it, it's always a little funky and weird.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's why coaches exists, right? To help you with the rewiring process. Even if you're like, it's scary, blah, 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 blah. Of course it's scary because the way that your brain is programmed
Mm-hmm.
is that you do the opposite of things. And if you want to flourish more, well, let's get rid of some of those fears and stuff, right?
Yep.
I okay. I'm gonna go through like do you need to log off? Because I want to go
No,
and ask you a couple more questions. I'm all lit up
no,
here.
we're good. Let's
My
go.
armpits are sweaty and stuff because I'm just getting started with you. Someone is listening right now. Maybe it's we're recording November 20th, 2024, and they're in the throes of drama, or they know that they're addicted to something. Alcohol, drugs, sex, those sorts of things. What would you say to someone who maybe outwardly says, no, I don't got a problem, but inwardly they're like, yo, I think I have a problem, but I have too much pride to admit it. What do you say to that person who's listening to this podcast right now?
I would say that it's not pride. You don't have pride if you continue beating yourself up the way that you're doing it because you're hurting yourself. And the one thing that I've learned through alcoholism is that is showing yourself that you don't love yourself. So
Wow.
to take away that whole sense of pride of being too scared to admit what you're doing, be prideful and be strong enough to ask for help because you don't understand how much help is actually out there until you actually ask for it. And it doesn't make you weak and it doesn't make you look silly and it doesn't make you look less prideful. You look like a human being.
Mm,
and that wants to do better for yourself, and you deserve better for yourself. You don't deserve to be in the rut and being high and feeling those the sick nights and being scared and being in situations because you're high or you're drunk. You don't deserve that. You deserve to be happy and to be living to your full potential.
mm.
And so, yeah, just ask for help.
I can't help but think that you may be like I'm listening to you say this, and then I can't help but think that that might have been you, the person who you're talking to now, or right, might have been you back then. Like, how much did you go and resist getting sober? When you're struggling in the throes of it.
It was so bad that I was in denial of the obvious physical indications that alcohol was killing me.
Mm.
I didn't, that's why I would disappear from my family, because I did not want them to see who I truly was at that time. And I was drinking from morning to end, so my skin was turning yellow. My eyes were turning yellow. I had, at one point, my stomach was so bloated, I looked like as if I was pregnant. It was filled up with bile. I was in such bad denial of how sick alcohol was making me that I just kept drinking. And I was killing myself until I went to the hospital, and my uncle came rushing to the hospital to see me. He didn't even recognize who I was. And that was when I actually looked in the mirror and I saw the yellow skin and I saw the yellow eyes, and I was like, oh my God, what did I do to
This
myself?
is bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Did you work like a 12-step program, or was the recovery house that you were a part of like helped you with that the full-on recovery process, not only like physically but spiritually, emotionally, those sorts of things?
Yeah, it was the 12-step program. It was provided by the counselor that was asked, why me? Why not
Mhm.
me? Question. He was actually a volunteer counselor that came in and he would teach the steps. They did have the blue book, the big blue book there and everything. And we did go over steps, but it wasn't the full focus. They had the psychology classes, they had counseling, the accountability class, we even had music class. And it was just, yeah, it was just a full on structure. Yeah, music class, not as how you probably think that we're playing musical instruments, but we would listen to our favorite songs. We would get a selection, and then we would go on why we like this song so much and what it means to us. So it was different. It was very different, I think. But no, I was listening to a lot of depressing music.
Got it. Got it.
But yeah, the 12-step program was given by the volunteer counselor, and he did help us up until the fourth step. And he said that when we get out, we would have to continue. And that was
Did you
something that I
continue?
did. Yeah.
Right on. Where are you now? Are you like a sponsor? Do you have a sponsor? Like, what is?
No, I actually stopped, going, but I do every year that I do, complete, which is, going to be 5 in February. I
Oh,
go
hey
and
now,
I visit.
congrats.
Because I did go like full on the first year, but after a while it's like I think I'll be okay. But it's strongly recommended for anyone because it's a beautiful community. But I do go in every year just to kind of to go back into that group and just feel it and just talk to everyone and just kind of celebrate with them, because even if they don't know you, they treat you like family. It's just so humbling and so beautiful when you go into those.
Completely. I can't help but think that some of the things that happen within 12-step programs, or getting clean, or other recovery programs, one of the first things that I, I think can happen is this sort of connection. Whereas like when you're in the throes of addiction, you're disconnected from everything. You're living in la la land, right? But then to get reconnected with people, and you're talking about, I don't know the exact term you just said, but like this beloved community of people who are fundamentally pulling for you, and they are
Hmm.
excited the more chips you collect or whatever, right? I can't help but think that this type of life is far better than the type of life that you were living when you were drunk, you know?
Yeah, it
And at the
was
time,
because
mhm,
yeah. Yeah, because when I was drinking, I was surrounded by people that didn't really care about me. They just wanted the funny drunk girl to either make fun of or, just to take advantage of. And that's the environment that I was surrounded by. And I had to, once I erased that environment from
mhm.
my life has become so lighter. And just that community and the 12-step program, the AA and everything like that, it is truly a 180 from that type of environment that we put ourselves in. because it is like they just take you in with open arms, and
Mhm.
they, as a female, they let the other females welcome you, and just make sure that you're in your comfort zone. The softness of their voices is just so comforting. It's just like you're coming in full zen. It's just like, where am I? And I love this.
It's awesome. Okay, like I said, I've got multiple questions I'm gonna fire here. Um, has what you've gone through in growing up, has that affected your romantic relationships in the present or anything like that? Or has that been something you've needed to work through? Because there's major lines that were crossed.
Yeah, definitely. I had huge struggles with my relationships, and I carried my trauma into a lot of my previous relationships where I I was dating men that were very manipulative and, and very toxic. And now being in a healthy relationship, and because I'm confident and I actually love myself, um, I think that there are still parts where the trauma triggers and everything like that, but you have to be with someone that is understanding to it, and helps you work through it, and will pull themselves back so that you can be okay until you're strong enough, and just having that type of person with you, and to give you that knowledge that everything's going to be okay. And if you're not okay with this, then we will pull back. Just knowing that puts you in a whole different realm of that trauma isn't so triggering anymore
Got it.
because I have support.
Got it. And I'm pretty sure I got to meet him, right, at
Yes.
TEDx Ocala, right? He was at the table. So you did have a conversation with him about it.
Yeah, no, when we first met, actually, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a nonprofit. I just bought a title and I just didn't know how to start it, but I just wanted to say I'm going to start this.
Okay.
And so I was directed to him to kind of help me out. So he was kind of leading me and teaching me things about how to open up. He taught me about Toastmasters and networking and stuff. So he was kind of like a coach and a guide. And he's always had that belief in me. So that already gave like this strong stability in our relationship. When we started talking, it was an agreement, like, okay, we like each other and we're going to talk. He already knew everything that's happened because he was coaching me.
Yeah,
And so we just bonded. We became best friends. And I think that's also important, is becoming best friends before you jump into a relationship, because then they know who you are, what you've
completely.
been through. And then they have that friendship bond that's not just like, you're my girlfriend, but you're my friend and I'm going to be there for you and I'm going to take care of you.
Got it. Do you believe in soulmates? No.
I I I don't know. I don't know. I don't. But it is crazy though, because our story is we were literally across the street in entire childhood in New York,
No.
and we did not
No,
know
in
each
New
other
York?
at all. Yeah, yeah, because we were both from New York, and we were living in a community called Neck, and he was literally across the street from my house from childhood, and we never met until now.
In
When I
Ocala.
asked, yep, when I asked for help. So I would say that I do believe that there things happen for a reason. And
Yo, that's bonkers.
yeah,
Super, super cool. Well, I wish the best for you. Let us
yeah.
continue with the barrage of more questions that I have for you. In your talk, you talk about autopilot behaviors, right? Doing things like saying yes when we mean no, people pleasing, avoiding conflict, right? If anyone's listening right now, how can someone begin to identify these patterns and then make conscious decisions about these autopilot behaviors?
It's again just trying to take time to analyze yourself. You have to, you know when you're being triggered. You just don't say it to yourself. It's just because I used to be a yes man. I was just yes to everything. It's very hard for me to say no because I always want to be helpful.
Same
And,
with me.
but
Same with me.
yeah, but you feel it right here. When you want to say no, you feel that, but you say yes. So you have to start being aware and just listening to that feeling, and you know that you want to say no, then that's where you find that that's a trigger for you. And that is something that you're creating barriers for yourself, because if you want to say no, you should be able to say no. So you have to be aware of those feelings when that happens, and you have to write it down. You have to make it physically aware for yourself to see, okay, this is my behavior, this is what I'm doing. How can I fix that? And you literally have to start with something small. Like if someone asks you, oh, can I have a piece of candy? you know, it's starting with something small. You have to, because the bigger ones are going to sound so difficult to your brain that you're not going to do it. So you have to make these small steps, and gradually your confidence and your ability to go on the opposite side of your usual behaviors will be easier and easier.
Absolutely. And what I love that you're bringing up right now is you're talking about people pleasing, then being like, let me show you what people pleasing looks like with the reclamation principle.
Hmm.
Recognize that something's going on right here, rewire, which is sometimes hard, and then reclaim, you know? So it's like full on some of the principles that you've brought up are things that we can, listening to this podcast, go out and do. You know, as you're talking about this, Jasmine, I'm thinking about, I can't remember exactly who it was with, but I was having a conversation with somebody, and the person said, "Did you know there's a difference between being nice and being kind?" And I was thinking about it, and she was like, "Being nice is people pleasing. It's saying what people want to hear. It's really just kind of going with the flow." And I feel like that what she was talking about with me was these automatic autopilot behaviors that you're talking about. Then she came forward and she said, "Well, being kind is sometimes you just need to say something that out of love and respect will hurt the other person, or being able to have a boundary with another person, or being able to do things out of kindness and love that can help another person get better as a result of the conversation." I feel like this, when it comes to these autopilot behaviors, like autopilot behaviors could be you being nice. You're a nice person. You just go and say what people want to hear, versus switching it on through recognize, rewire, and reclaim, and being kind to people. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
No, it does, because it is being nice when you don't want to say no and you just want to people please.
Hmm.
That's it's not helping anyone, and it's a big barrier that nobody should have. And being kind is completely different, like you said.
Completely.
It's You can say no and be kind about it. You can tell someone that you're doing something wrong and be kind about it. You can tell someone that you don't want to be around them anymore, but be kind about it. Something like, for example, like if it's a relationship, a friendship, anything is unhealthy for you, you don't have to be like, get out of my life. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah.
You don't have to be mean about it. You could be like,
No.
listen, this friendship, like I really care about you, but this relationship is not healthy for me. And I just feel like it's time for me in my life to move forward from this and, and say our goodbyes. And usually people will be caught off guard by it, but they would accept it if they're actually good people and they care about you too. They would understand. And that's not saying it in a mean way. There's always room for being kind, even in uncomfortable situations.
Completely. Completely. I want to go into something that you talk about in the TEDx talk that you gave about helping others, right? You have every reason to not do that and just be like, I need to be surrounded by people who can help me. But you talk about helping others. You do work in orphanages and supporting children. How much has this changed who you are in a fundamental way, and how it can change anyone who goes and helps others?
I think helping others actually helps yourself as well. It makes you grow, and just helping, I would say helping others is just, it's something that's human
Mhm.
and that we should all be doing, and not being so selfish too. When we're only looking out for ourselves, we're not, we might grow, but there's going to be a point where there's going to be a cap on that, because
Completely.
you're
Yeah.
going to want to help, and then nobody's going to want to help you because you're not helping anyone. But helping people who need the help, I think, is a powerful thing that does something within you, and it creates such a peaceful happiness inside you. And that's something that happened at the TEDx event when I was sharing my talk. And at the end, I actually beat myself up for it. I thought I didn't do great and I wanted to do better. And then
Wait, did
there
you
was
like
one,
backstage? Did you go and cry afterwards?
yeah, I cried. I full on cried.
You did?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I felt like I should have done way better. So I was beating myself up for it. And that's something else that I need to work on. But I did do that. And then right after, when I walked on the other side of the stage, a young girl came breaking through the curtains in tears and thanking me for sharing my story because she's gone through something very similar to what I went through. And she felt alone and she felt like there was nothing like she could do or she doubted herself. And my talk gave her strength and it made her feel connected to someone. And then that showed me that I did perfect. I didn't need to do, if I made a mistake, it was okay because my mission for that talk came through and it resonated with someone who needed that talk. And so
Completely.
that just it's like a full circle when you help other people. It helps you. It just creates this warmth within the world, and a lot of people just need to keep doing that.
Well, I mean, it's incredible because at the beginning of our interview, you were talking about basically how 5 years ago you were fighting for your life, right? And now you're on the podcast. Oh, yeah. I knew that you dreamt of this podcast. I feel like you're sharing, I've got goosebumps even talking about this. Like you were battling for your life 5 years ago. You could easily not have been here, right? But now you're on TEDx Ocala. You're the COO of a company. I guess I'm going to ask this. Looking back on your life, who you are now, and then talking to that woman, maybe even little girl, that was where she was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, what would you tell that person?
Oh, you're gonna make me cry. I would just tell her that you're loved and you you have the potential to love yourself. You're not a bad person. You're not ugly. You're not disgusting for what happened to you. You're beautiful inside and out, and you're not just a piece of flesh. You're not a property. You're your own human being and you can be strong and you are going to be strong and you're going to help other people. And I love you. And there's a lot of people that love you and you just don't realize it because you're not listening. But you need to listen and accept that love because you deserve it.
Yeah, I can't help but see that girl, that woman a couple years ago in the throes of some major calamities. Would you say that if she saw like who you are right now, or she sat in the audience, I bet she wouldn't have recognized the person on the stage. Like,
No,
nah, there's no way I would be on a TEDx stage. Do you feel
no,
like,
she wouldn't have believed it. I was very numb 5 years ago when the doctor told me that you had 3 months left to live. And I was completely numb. I didn't feel sad or scared. It was just emptiness. And that's kind of, I guess, internally, that's what I was hoping for. And then it was just seeing my mom break down the way that she did. It was just like one of those horrible shrieking wail cries that
yeah, oh,
you don't want to hear.
no.
It cut through me and that's when I realized that she really, really loves me and wants me to live and I'm hurting her. And if I do die, then she's going to be broken and I can't do that to her. At least make her happy for the 3 months I had left. And doing that made me find myself and find love for myself. And I think not medication, but it was just that journey of self-love and growing as a person healed me more than anything.
Wow. Yeah. I think when we're in the throes of something like that, we think that we only are hurting ourselves, right? I don't care about this. I don't care about this. But then when we do see the impact that we have on others, I can't help but think that when you saw the impact you were having on your mom, that may have been the first time where you have started to move towards, I understand that I am hurting another person, to I know that I'm moving a whole bunch of people, regardless of how you felt the TEDx talk went, right? Um, do you agree with me? I think you're a miracle.
Thank you.
You agree?
I think I I think that I was meant to do this and I
I agree
was meant to go through what I went through because I was strong enough to come out the way that I did and to share my story and to
completely.
help other people.
Completely. Miraculous story. I don't know if you can see, but I'm in a multi-million million dollar studio right now recording this podcast with you. And my producer, Manny, I didn't get to introduce you to him. He's quite a jovial character. And every now and then he wants to go and play these games with the guests. We might as well go from trauma to having to neutral to having fun on this podcast. Do you agree
Let's
with
do
me?
it. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
So I have to tell you, Manny's kind of a harsh judge. Not many people have passed this. The only people that have passed this were Tiffany from TEDx Ocala, Annie from TEDx Ocala, Thomas from TEDx Ocala. And so, yeah, I don't want you to. I don't want you to flub this up, but TEDx Ocala speakers are on a streak right now, so don't mess them up.
A
Are you
lot of
ready to
pressure, but I
play?
got this.
Okay, you got this. So Manny's going to ask you a question. He's going to show it to me. I'm going to ask you what question he wants me to ask you. You can just answer it in one sentence or in a full-on soliloquy, and then Manny will go and judge point by point what he thinks of your answer.
Okay.
Got it. So he wants to talk to you about joy. He wants to talk to you about how you embody joy, right? So there's 5 of these questions, and I'm going to ask the first one. Okay. So joy tastes like.
Andy.
He's more specific. He wants more specificity. Is it like chocolate-based candy or like gooey
Oh,
candy?
it's the colorful, chewy, like gummy worms, gummy bears, Sour Patch Kids.
He has one of these old school jack-o'-lantern like things in front of him. He's reaching in. There's gummy worms. There are Sour Patch Kids in there. There's sour Skittles in there. 1 point for you. I told you. I knew that you could do this the whole time. Manny gives you 1 point. Congratulations.
Yes.
All right, exactly. The next question is joy sounds like
Birds singing.
birds singing.
You know, like in the Disney princesses when they have those little birds.
These
That's what I
animated
think of.
birds, like these birds, drawn birds are falling on his shoulders and they are singing BTS Butter.
That's perfect. That is complete joy.
Complete joy. Congratulations. You are already further than the other TEDx Ocala people who've done this before, right? 2 points for you. All right. 3 more. Finish strong, okay?
Okay.
Joy looks like
Happy girls.
happy girls?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I pictured like a bunch of young happy girls with good fathers. That's me.
Manny has these girls show up around him and they are linking arms and they're in a circle and they are dancing with him. Single tear is falling down on Manny's eyes.
Oh,
3-0 +1. Oh my goodness. You might break the Ocala record here. Oh my goodness. Okay, question number 4. Joy smells like.
I almost forgot how to say it. Benien.
Like what?
Benien.
Benien. What's that?
That is roasted pork. It's a Spanish dish. The best meat.
You know what's interesting is also in that Halloween jack-o'-lantern basket.
Yes, Benien in there.
There is Ben Yen in it. He is reaching in. He is smelling it. He is tasting it. -1,000. He hates it. It's disgusting. I told you this guy is a tyrant. How could you do that? That is part of who she is. My goodness.
I don't think the right person cooked it. That's what it is.
He gave you another -1,000 for telling you him that he's wrong. -1,993 points. Or sorry, 97 points. Oh my God. This may be the worst appearance on Manny's show ever. Okay, please just get a respectable 1 point on this or something like that. We need to stop
Okay.
the bleeding, okay? Your final question from Manny is this. Joy feels like
Warmthness in your heart.
Manny, he's got like the he's taking off his aviator sunglasses. He's got a button-down shirt. He's ripping it open. But he's putting his hands over his heart and he's got goosebumps. And all the kids around him have goosebumps. And they're listening to BTS Butter with these birds. Positive 2,000 points. Congratulations, Jasmine. You win by 3 points. And the TEDx Ocala streak is continued. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, this is why I hated this guy and didn't want to talk to him at TEDx Ocala. Thank God I was across the table from him. I want to ask you a bonus question, and it's about what I do when it comes to these joy revolutions. When someone has a joy revolution, when you have a joy revolution, you may have felt it, right? This is the internal joy revolution where your heart is completely full and the cup runneth over. I can't help but think with some of the things that you talked about in this TEDx, even the person who went and stopped you, in this podcast, I can't help but think that the person who saw your TEDx and pulled you aside to tell you that moved them, I'm sure that it may have filled up your heart and the heart runneth over, right? I don't know what you do, but I go into like immediate, like cry well up type of thing. I need to get out of the room, right? A joy revolution can also be leading social change using a leadership tool such as joy, positive approach to things. When I ask you, which I'm going to do now, what your joy revolution is, what is your joy revolution, Jasmine? Just what is your joy revolution? Yeah.
Joy revolution.
Absolutely. And by the way, you've answered it for the entire hour or so that we've been on, right? Like a joy revolution can be something where like you just feel it in your heart, right? Every single day you might wake up before the world wakes up and you just feel this internal gratitude. Your heart is running over, right? The internal joy revolution, right?
Oh, I love this because I
Yeah,
love gratitude.
an external joy revolution can be what you did on TEDx. To be able to go out into the world and say, this is what's up, walk with me, using joy as a tool for social change, like you did at TEDx Ocala. So what is your joy revolution, Jasmine?
My joy revolution is just, I think just being the person that I never thought I would be and sharing that with other people and just because when I do wake up sometimes and I do think about gratitude and I do think about where I was and being able to come from that and to wake up and try and help other people and create beautiful things and just sharing. And especially now since TEDx, just being able to share more and more and more about my story that's so uncomfortable, so dark, but it brings out something in other people and it is something that can be joyful out of something so ugly and that's connection. So I think that that's my joy revolution.
I love it. I love it. And I'm so honored to have this conversation with you. I want us to keep in touch and let's go from there. You know, it's not just me trying to have you on the podcast to get to your boyfriend to talk about videos, right? I really, really appreciated this conversation. Literally, anytime something's up, come back on the show. Let's go and rap about it, okay?
Yeah,
The
definitely.
the TEDx podcast, when it comes out, it'll be in the show notes. If it's not there right now, just sit tight. I'm gonna go and put up the update as soon as the TEDx goes live, and I want you to share it. Okay, share it with your folks, especially when it gives people hope, folks who may feel hopeless, right? I also want you to go to Define Media, DEAFINE media.com. That's for the latest and greatest with what Jasmine is up to, COO, but also she's going to become a coach too. I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can get in touch with her. And on behalf of Jasmine and myself, for your sake, for my sake, for goodness sake, start your joy revolution. Start it in love, in light, in shadows, and enjoy, baby. All right, this wraps up another episode of the Joy Revolution podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And since you made it this far, go ahead and hit subscribe. Now, if you want to hear more podcasts, or if you're ready to engage with a community who will support and challenge you, if you're ready to start your own Joy Revolution, head on over to my online community, The Underground. The link is in the description. It's free to sign up. I've got a bunch of resources in there, including my own Joy Revolution course. So until next time, I'm Mark Cordone Creative. Dig deep, and I'll see you in the underground.